Ukraine's drones are no longer just hitting Russia's army. They're hitting Russia itself. Now, a former NATO commander warns Vladimir Putin could respond with a new mobilization after September's elections, potentially opening a far more dangerous phase of the war. The race is no longer just for territory, but for time. Ukraine's long-range drone campaign is doing something that months of frontline fighting could not. It is bringing the war home to ordinary Russians. Now, according to Czech President Petr Pavel, Russia could launch a major new military mobilization within months as mounting battlefield and economic pressure forces the Kremlin to replenish its forces. The former NATO general warned that the period immediately after Russia's parliamentary elections on September 20th could become a decisive moment in the war, with President Vladimir Putin potentially free to announce a fresh mobilization without the political risks of doing so before the vote. Pavel said Ukraine and its allies have only a limited window to push Moscow towards negotiations before Russia could escalate the conflict.
President Putin will hardly declare mobilization before, but once the elections are over, the window will shrink. I believe that the window is there for us to keep pushing and giving Russia a clear message that we are willing to start negotiations. Russia has a lot of internal problems and challenges at this point. The Russian public is turning increasingly against the war.
The warning comes as Ukraine intensifies long-range drone attacks on Russia's energy infrastructure. Pavel argued that those strikes are creating growing domestic pressure on the Kremlin. Ukraine says its expanding drone campaign is intended to weaken Russia's war machine by targeting refineries, fuel depots, and military infrastructure far behind the front lines. Russia processed an average of just 4.1 million barrels of oil per day in June, according to an analysis cited by the Financial Times, a figure 28% below the 5-year average and 35% below nominal capacity. 10 of the country's largest refineries have been struck, including the Omsk facility some 2,500 kilometers from the front line, which alone accounts for roughly 7% of national refining capacity. President Volodymyr Zelensky said recent strikes demonstrated that no part of Russia is beyond Kiev's reach.
Our warriors are carrying out the long-range sanctions plan in response to Russia, dragging out the war and continuing its attacks. Recent days saw important successful strikes on facilities supporting Russia's oil sector and sustaining its war policy. SSU warriors struck 2 oil depots, one in Stavropol and the other in Tver. Both are about 500 kilometers from the front line. Units of Ukraine's defense forces also struck a reserve fuel storage facility, located about 800 kilometers from the front. An oil pumping station in Russia's Ufa, nearly 1,500 kilometers from our border, also came under sanctions. An oil loading terminal in the Rostov region, about 200 kilometers from the front line, was sanctioned as well. I thank all our warriors who make results like these possible every single day. We offered Russia a way to end this war long ago, and every day it chooses to prolong it should bring the reality of war back to where it began, to Russia.
The fuel crisis is now affecting around 50 million Russians. Long queues have formed outside petrol stations. Fights have broken out at the pumps. Crimea is under a state of emergency, with fuel distributed through electronic vouchers. Military analysts say the growing drone campaign is placing increasing strain on Russia's air defenses. Institute for the Study of War analyst Katerina Stepanenko said Moscow is struggling to protect critical infrastructure across its vast territory.
Russian air defenses are stretched thin, and there's not enough manpower to operate them. Ukrainian mid-range and long-range strikes are eliminating the gap, the time that Putin had thought he had to make some serious decisions.
The latest warnings also come amid heightened concern across NATO's eastern flank. Recent reports citing Polish and Allied security sources suggest Western intelligence is monitoring the possibility of future Russian provocations near NATO territory, although no attack has been confirmed. While there is no public evidence that the Kremlin has decided to launch a new mobilization, European leaders increasingly believe the months following Russia's September elections could prove critical for both the war in Ukraine and wider European security. Ukraine may soon be able to build one of the world's most advanced air defense systems on its own soil after US President Donald Trump announced that Washington will grant Kyiv a license to manufacture Patriot missile interceptors. Speaking alongside Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the NATO summit in Ankara, Trump said the United States would allow Ukraine to produce the defensive missiles domestically, describing the move as a significant step forward for Kyiv's air defense capabilities.
So one of the things we're going to be talking about is we're going to give a license to you to make Patriots. That's pretty cool, right?
Larry?
This way you can't complain that we're not giving them enough. I say, make them yourself. We haven't informed the company of that yet, but that'll work out all right. You know, I'm sure they'll be thrilled. But you know, they'll be able to do it. You'll be able to figure that out. Most countries couldn't do that.
Yeah.
If I said that to most countries, they wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But this is a very ingenious group, and what I like about that, it's a defensive situation as opposed to an offensive.
The announcement marked a notable shift in Trump's tone towards Zelensky. After previously criticizing the Ukrainian leader, Trump said the two now shared a very good relationship and expressed confidence that both Ukraine and Russia wanted to bring the war to an end. Trump also confirmed that he planned to speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin later on Wednesday. Referring to both leaders, he remarked that while many conflicts had been resolved, this war had proved particularly difficult because, in his words, Putin is a difficult character and so is Zelensky.
Do you have a question for President Putin? Not Zelensky. Yeah, what would you like to ask him? Because I'm going to ask him that question.
I have a question. Last year you called Russia a paper tiger, referring that they're not doing that
Who
great.
did I call?
I'm from Telegraph UA, Ukrainian media.
No, give us a question, not for Zelensky. Give us a question for Putin.
Why is he attacking
Yeah.
Because I'm
Ukraine
speaking
citizens
to
who
him
want
today.
peace?
Yeah.
Putin,
Why is he
Give me a
attacking
good, hard
Ukrainian
question.
citizens who want peace?
when will he end this war?
That's a
the
good question. I don't think I've ever asked him that question. I'm going to ask him that question. By the way, I will tell you, though, he's going to tell you that he wants it ended as soon as he can end it. He wants it ended. He wants to end it soon. And I ask him, and we talk. I talk to him a lot. I talk to him a little bit less, but the relationship is very good. But I talk to President Putin a lot. He wants to end the war.
Although Trump did not provide further details about the proposed licensing arrangement, he acknowledged that defense manufacturers Lockheed Martin and Raytheon had not yet been informed of the decision. The Patriot air defense system is regarded as one of the most effective missile interception systems in the world. A single battery, complete with missiles, is valued at around $1 billion, while production remains limited, with only about 600 interceptor missiles manufactured each year. Trump also acknowledged that the United States has a limited stockpile after using more than half of its Patriot interceptors during the conflict with Iran earlier this year. Former US Ambassador to NATO Kurt Volker described the decision as a potential turning point, saying that once production begins, it could help close one of Ukraine's most significant capability gaps. Ukraine's ambassador to the United States, Olha Stefanishina, also welcomed the announcement.
The readiness to cooperate on Patriot missile capabilities and move forward on a drone deal reflects a shared understanding that our security cooperation is in the strategic interests of both countries.
As Russia continues its missile and drone attacks, the prospect of producing Patriot interceptors inside Ukraine could strengthen Kyiv's long-term air defenses while opening a new chapter in US-Ukraine military cooperation.